Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Tim.
And this is Brian.
And we are your host for this episode of the Civil Gore podcast.
And in tradition, it is Civil Gore X. We're going to space, apparently.
But our movie is not set or has anything to do with space.
No, not at all.
We missed an opportunity.
Yes,
there,
we did. We could have done Leprechaun in space. We could have done Jason X, I guess. Maybe one of the Alien films.
Or wasn't there a Hellraiser where he went to space?
There might have been. I think that's like pretty much the go-to for horror franchises that run out of ideas. They first go to Manhattan, then they go to space.
Yeah, but our podcast has not run out of ideas because we found a gem of a movie.
Oh, did we ever? Fans of our Manitou episode, you know what? Grab a beer, sit back for this one because this could be quite enjoyable.
And I cannot believe I've seen the box art for that movie. I've heard of the movie, but I can't believe I didn't realize what a cult movie it really is.
Yeah, same here. We mentioned it a couple of times, that box art, I think. And it's one of those box arts where you've seen it before back in the day when Blockbuster was around and their horror section was pretty much a staple of every horror section in a video store.
Yeah, but we'll get to that in a minute. First up is our first chop. And as promised, I read the Manitou novel.
Bringing it back right away. Nice.
By Graham Masterson. If you recall, back when we were talking about the Manitou, he's actually got 5 or 6 books out in this series. So I was like, I wanted to get through the first one because I can't wait to read the sequels and see what happens.
Yeah, I downloaded it as well. I have not been ambitious as Tim was, so I did not get to start it yet, but it's definitely something.
It's a fairly quick read.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's less than 300 pages.
Oh, okay.
But I was shocked in that it follows the movie follows the book to a T. Now the book has a few sequences that are slightly different than the movie, and I won't spoil those there since Brian hasn't read it, but for the most part, the movie was very faithful to the book, which is surprising, especially for a movie and story this bizarre.
Oh, now it just I'm just thinking of the missed opportunities for these sequels. If this book is as good as you said, and how close to the movie it was.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what happens there. And the other thing I finished up this week is a movie that our good friend Nathan sent me. Randomly out of the blue, called Flesh-Eating Mothers.
That is a title.
Boy, whew, this is as low budget as I have delved in a long, long time. Worst acting I've probably seen in a movie in several decades.
Wow, and that including the one we're going to review tonight.
Oh, way worse.
Oh my God,
that makes this movie look like an Oscar caliber performance.
Oh wow, okay,
really, really bad, but I can see why Nathan likes it because it is one of those movies that's so bad it's good, and I don't want to go delve too much into it because we may end up covering it at some point.
Yeah, I'm already intrigued by it, so we may.
But Flesh-Eating Mothers, and it is exactly what the title describes. And then the final thing I finished all 3 audio commentaries on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Shout Factory Collector's Edition.
Wow, Tim you are definitely more dedicated than I am for the backlog project you're on.
Yeah, and to me, physical media has its place, if nothing else, just for audio commentaries, because they rarely put those in with like the digital versions. And I absolutely love them because it's almost like listening to a podcast. Now, I don't usually sit there and I don't necessarily watch the film the second or third time through, but I'll put the audio commentary on while I'm doing something else on the computer or playing a game or whatever and just listen to it.
Oh yeah, that's probably the good way to do that, actually.
Yeah, so you don't get burned out on the movie itself. I kind of just treat it as a podcast and listen to it. And I'll tell you, when I had not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in probably 20 years when I bought this Blu-ray. So when I went back to revisit it, I really couldn't remember much except for Chop Top.
Right.
And I'll tell you, the first, I always watch the movie first without any commentaries, just to say that I watched it again. It kind of forces me to review it again without any distraction. So I watched it again. I was like, I don't know about this movie. It's so different from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Completely. It's more of a comedy, really, than the first one. And after those 3 commentaries, like, I completely changed my mind. Like, I absolutely love it now. And I think it just took people discussing what they loved about it, their experiences on the film, how hard they worked on it, to make me appreciate what a cool film it actually is. So if you don't listen to audio commentaries on your movies, I would highly encourage you to do so, because it may actually change your opinion of the movies. I've had this happen several times, especially in the Halloween box set. A lot of those movies I had seen before, some of the what so-called lesser sequels, and watching the commentaries on them changed my mind about them.
Yeah, I think my version has it. Do you have a special edition for Texas 2?
Yeah, I've got the collector's edition that actually Scream Factory put it out fairly recently, so within the past several months.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's the one I have then. I gotta look at the one. I'm looking at it, but it's too far to reach right now. It's up on the top. I'd have to climb up a bit.
Yeah, I'm still working my way through the features. It's got several fairly lengthy featurettes. It's got an 85-minute documentary, which I haven't watched yet. So yeah, this one's jam-packed. If you want a great disc that you can spend many hours with, I would highly suggest that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look. If mine does not have any of this stuff, it may be worth the double dip. And actually, speaking of that, I think we definitely need to do the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in an upcoming episode. It's too iconic. I mean, especially the fact that poor Tobe Hooper, we started with his we started with Eaten Alive for him. So
yeah, and I would love
he deserves better.
I would love to do I'd love to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 at some point as well,
right.
Just because it is such a totally different movie than the first one, that it kind of stands on its own, as its own beast.
Yeah, and maybe as we play around with the format, as we already said, it's going to evolve. Maybe we'll kind of do something where maybe once a month we kind of dedicate one of the episodes to a sequel or something. We'll try and keep it fresh. We always like to keep the format fresh, so maybe that's something we may look into, and then that way we can maybe get both of them done in 1 month, and then that's why, because I feel weird starting with 2 if we don't do one first.
Yeah, we would definitely want to do one first, and I've thought about that too. Maybe have 1 month once we get established. Maybe even do like a themed month where all 4 movies that month share some theme.
Oh, right, that's good. And we could do some other themes like Mana Tuesday, and then where we release a special Tuesday.
Vajiball Friday.
There you go. There we go. See, we're already on it. You guys are getting some rare behind the scenes right out in front of you. There we go.
Yeah. So did you check out anything this week, Brian?
I didn't, other than what we planned on watching. That's really, I kind of had a busy week. So yeah, I started watching some of the Twin Peaks series. I just went through the first few episodes over the weekend because I want to catch up before, I believe May 7th is when the new series starts. So I'm running out of time there, and I got a couple of busy weekends coming up. Next weekend I have the Chiller Con. So I want to start that and see if I can start knocking those off maybe once a day during my lunch hour. I can watch an episode, so hopefully catch up. But other than that, I really didn't watch much other than our main feature tonight. Did you get to? I wanted to ask you. Did you get to watch? Speaking of Vajay Bowl, did you get to watch that one?
I actually did not. I was kind of like you. I had a really busy week. I was able to watch some of those commentaries and stuff on lunch breaks, sort of like you do, but did not get to the shorts because I really wanted to sit down and watch all the ones I hadn't seen kind of in a row and get them all knocked out at once. So that may be something I get to this week.
Yeah, you definitely need to catch up on your Vajay Bowl action there.
Yeah. So we have speaking of busy weeks, we have a very busy week in Blu-ray releases, especially if you're a fan of classic horror movies.
Yeah, I was looking at that. There's two big ones I saw right off the bat there.
Yeah, the first one we have, this one is not a horror movie per se, but it's one I've heard some buzz about and I really wanted to watch, especially with my obsession with cover art. And I think you would enjoy this too,
Yeah, I'm
Ryan.
looking at your description on the rundown, and I'm thinking, I'm surprised I haven't heard of this. This looks like a documentary that I would be all over.
Yeah, it's called 24 by 36, a movie about movie posters. And like I said, it's not horror movie per se. I believe it covers all genres, but I am fascinated by movie poster art. So this is one I definitely want to check out.
Yeah, me too. I used to actually, back in college, I worked at a movie theater and a video store simultaneously at one point. So I used to have a massive collection of posters that kind of got damaged over the years. I mean, I had some duds, but I actually had some really cool ones, which I think those are still intact. My prize thing was one of those, I don't know if you remember when Batman Returns had those massive one-sheet placards of, like, it had the Penguin, it had Batman, it had Catwoman, it basically had the characters in these giant boards of poster, and I remember I bid on something, I got $25, came home with it, but unfortunately it got lost in one of my moves over the years.
Oh man, well, I've actually still got the original 1989 Batman movie poster, the teaser that just had the symbol and the date.
That was cool.
Yeah, I've still got that one actually. It's actually still in pretty good shape. I don't know how much it would be worth these days, but
speaking of posters, a little off topic, I want to get my hands on that Last Jedi poster. They were giving them out at the Star Wars Celebration. And so I'm going to look on eBay, see if I can get a hold of one. Or most likely Disney Movie Rewards tends to have those items eventually. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Speaking of, I don't know if you saw that poster art. It looks really cool.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Take a look at that. I mean, for a teaser poster, it kind of says a lot in it. It's really, really cool.
Awesome. Now, the next two releases I have, I'm really kind of excited about. They're kind of pricey because they're Shout Factory releases. But they are The Screaming Skull from 1958 and I Bury the Living, also from 1958. And both of these have a new high-def transfer, trailers, still galleries, and The Screaming Skull, actually, I thought this was a cool bonus. It has the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode that they did on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So as a bonus feature. But the reason I was kind of intrigued by these is because these are the kind of movies, and again, going back to physical media, and just as a disclaimer, I'm not typically a fan of physical media. Like, I buy all my console games digitally, I buy all my books digitally, all my music, so I get rid of media wherever I can. Movies is the one area where I won't give that up, and it's because of stuff like this. Like, you're not going to find these kind of movies on Vudu, or, typically you're not going to find them on Netflix.
Shudder, probably. That's about it.
Yeah, Shudder maybe, but and you're certainly not going to find like the documentary bonuses and that kind of stuff. So I really love that there are companies that are putting out these lesser known films, classic films, probably looking the best that they've ever looked, and that you can own, and that's really the only way to own them. So it's another reason why I still believe strongly in physical media is for releases like this.
Yeah, and some things, that's definitely more of a collectible movie to have. So to have that just lying around on a file somewhere just doesn't, I don't know, to me, you're right, it's missing something. I think you need the actual physical disc and the bonus features for it to make it really cool.
And not to mention the cover art.
Right.
And it's kind of like, kind of like when records went away, but you missed that big cover art.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, having those nice big album covers.
So the next on the list is the Underworld Blood Wars, which is the one that just came out. And along with this, they released Underworld Ultimate Collection, which includes all the movies. So you get Underworld, Underworld Awakening, Underworld Evolution, Underworld Blood Wars, and Underworld Rise of the Lycans. Sorry, those are out of order, but that's how the entry listed them on the release site. And Brian, we were talking a little bit about this before the show. You have not seen any of the Underworld movies.
No, but I own the first four. And so I can definitely watch them. So I guess the double release there of the Blood Wars and the collection at the same time is meant for people like me who've been buying them loyally, I guess, even though they haven't watched them, but loyally up until this point and don't feel like they have to double dip, which is kind of nice. I kind of like when they do that. I think they kind of did that with the Phantasm But, oh no, they released that cool first one and the most recent, and then now they released the thing. But yeah, it's similar to that. So I'll probably have to just get that to continue my set, because I figure if I'm gonna watch them, I'm gonna watch all of them. So
yeah, they're my guilty pleasure movie. They're not high art by any means, but I like the concept of them, and it's kind of like the Resident Evil series. That's another one of my guilty pleasures.
Right, which I just bought, and for, what did I say? I think it was like $14.99 for everything but the most recent one, which was, to me, that's a steal. $3 a movie? I mean...
Oh, by the way, speaking of steals, I don't know what made me do this, but I was looking up the Puppet Master movies today, and because I've got the Puppet Master collection on DVD, and I was looking to see if they had Blu-ray versions or a Blu-ray set, but you can get like all of the Puppet Master movies. I think there's like 9 of them for like $12 on DVD.
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous. Like,
where's that, on Amazon?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it today. I couldn't believe it.
I may have to... See, I always whenever I see a deal that good, first thing I'll do is, like you said, I'll look for Blu-ray, but then I'll look to see if, not only just a Blu-ray, but if there's another release coming of a deluxe set. Ever since that Aliens one where I had to buy the box set, and then seems like maybe a few months later ended up buying the quadrilogy, I've learned my lesson now to do a little research with, but then again, I'm a sucker for those sets. I mean, that's why I end up with literally 2 box sets of Friday the 13th.
Well, a lot of times they'll trick you. They'll mark down the sets that are getting ready to be obsolete to get you to buy them, and then you realize that there was a super cool new set that came out.
Yeah. So, I see one that, oh my god, the Puppet Master Collection, you're right, $8.84 for 9 movies on DVD.
That's ridiculous.
And it was not...
That's another one of my...
Yeah, it was $9.99, and they're reducing it further.
Oh my god, yeah. Now, some people may argue that those movies are worth exactly what you pay for.
Right.
But... That's another one of my guilty pleasure franchises. I can't help it. I love Puppet Master movies. I don't know why, but we may have to cover one of those at some point.
Wait, now even funnier. Now, I'm scrolling down below, and there's actually a Puppet Master, a multi-format version on DVD. It's where it has the subtitle under it, "The Classic First Film," for $6.50. Just that one. But it says, for the first time, digitally restored, remastered into 16:9 widescreen. So there's one right there, a little catch. But below that, it says, Charles Band presents, I assume he was the one he's the one that did the Puppet Master, a 12-movie collection, which is Puppet Master and Killjoy Complete Collection, for $7.04. So for 12 movies, you get all 9 Puppet Masters and 3 of the Killjoy movies, which I don't even know what that is, the Killjoy, but it looks like some kind of... Almost looks like you took like the Joker and made him more of a zombie from the box art. I'm looking at it. And he's got like this kind of weird glove hand, but I don't know. So I guess that's... Yeah, so for a 12 movie set, you can get for $7.04. Originally $12.99 on Prime.
Well, I was just looking at my set. I'm going to have to upgrade my set because I've only got 8 movies.
You're missing one.
I'm missing a movie. So apparently they came out with another Puppet Master movie I didn't know about.
Yeah, and see, now I'm looking at alone. There is a Blu-ray set called the Blu-ray Collection, Puppet Master Volume 1, which looks like it's only got 3. The first 3 movies, and that's one of those ones where it's not even available and you have to get offers from, and it starts at $49.95.
Yeah, I think there's no Blu-ray release in print right now. So
yeah, and there's also, I noticed another one that's a Puppet Master Collection. This one's a DVD. It doesn't say how many movies are on it, but it just says the Puppet Master Collection, and that one's $23.84. So God knows what the difference is on these. This will be for another time. We'll be here all afternoon. It looks like there's so many, or all evening. I should say.
Well, yeah. I may have to go through those because I don't believe I've even been through all the ones in my box set. Actually,
well, let me know when you find out if that says worth getting. If that does have everything that I'll need, because then I'll just get it. Because I know I try not to buy movies on DVD anymore unless they're just not available. Like there's a couple I had to. I think what was it? That one. Not Tales of Halloween, Holidays. I have not been able to find that on Blu-ray, so when I came out, I bought it on DVD because there was no choice. But so I try and go for Blu-ray first, but you know.
Yeah. So let's see what we got. Still got a few more. Kaltiki the Immortal Monster from 1959. Sounds interesting. Yeah. So you can make a Kaltiki bar, I guess, if you're so inclined.
Mike, are you listening? Mike.
Psycho Cop returns. I've heard the folks from Shockwaves, or formerly Killer POV. I guess back when the Killer POV days, they talked about Psycho Cop.
Now, is he friends with Maniac Cop? Or are they just two
know.
different franchises altogether?
I may be confusing them. Maybe I'm thinking of Maniac Cop. I don't know.
Well, I know Shudder, I think, has a couple of Maniac Cops on there, on their collection there. So I don't know. We'll have to look. Another thing, we've given ourselves homework now. We have the whole Puppet Master project, followed by now Psycho Cop versus Maniac Cop here.
The Puppet Master project will be to endure all 9 films in one sitting.
That might be a fun experiment to do anyway.
Vampire Bat, 1933. I've heard of that one. I've probably seen it at some point. From Hell It Came, 1957. That sounds like a good one.
Is that something that Yoda made from Hell?
Yeah. I was getting ready to do my Yoda voice, but I can't. Cause I've got allergies, so I'm like, it'd probably.
I would do it, but we'll just save it so you can do it when you feel better.
Yeah. And then this other one snuck in. It's actually releasing on April 30th, and that is Blood of the Tribades, 2016. It looks like a modern retro. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, well, 2016, so it's got the modern right there. But yeah, you're right. That title sounds like something from like the 70s or the 60s or something.
Yeah, when I saw the screenshots, it looked kind of like they were going for that vibe. And then this theatrical release for April 21st is one I kind of want to see, called Phoenix Forgotten. And it looks to be kind of a found footage take on the Phoenix Lights. I don't know if you're into UFO mythology, but the Phoenix Lights were a famous UFO sighting.
I do like stuff like that, especially when there's a bit of a basis of something, a legend or a real thing, that happened, kind of. So that would be interesting. Especially, I'm a sucker for found footage films. So.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for this one. It actually looked kind of cool, so I may have to go. I don't know if this is a limited release or a wide release or what. It kind of has the vibe that it would probably be a limited release, but I couldn't tell when I was looking today. So one I'll check out probably on video, but one to keep in mind.
Oh, and speaking of video on demand, I believe we can. I think it was released last week, right? The Chupacabra territory. We need to go look into that one and see that.
Yeah, I need to see that one.
Yeah, I meant to watch. I was going to try and watch it this weekend. I had a goal. I was going to watch that and that one where Evelyn came out of the grave one, because that's free on Prime, and I got to neither, so. So hopefully maybe this week I'll get to those. Yeah,
I have some plans on watching. I'm about halfway through one on Shudder called Prevenge.
Oh right, I saw that's that one. It was a pregnant woman or something, right?
Yeah, that's the one. She's a pregnant woman. Her unborn child is directing her to kill. Yeah, it's pretty good so far. Like I said, I just haven't finished it, so I couldn't talk about it. But it'll probably be one I'll talk about next episode.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I've only heard good things about that, so I'll have to look to see if I can watch that this week.
So, because this is probably going to be a lengthy discussion, we'll jump right into our deep cut.
Yeah.
As you can tell from the title of the podcast, we're covering Blood Diner from 1987, directed by Jackie Kong, who is a female, probably the first female director we've covered.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I'm thinking, yep. And written by Michael Sonyi, or Sony?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sonai? I don't
know. Sorry, Michael. We'll just call you Michael S.
If you're listening, number one, thank you. And two, please feel free to correct how we say your name.
Starring Rick Burks, Carl Crew, and Roger Dower, an all-star cast.
Yeah, those names, they almost all have to be made up in honesty to probably protect the people that actually did this film, because I know if I was part of this film, I mean, as much as you'll see that there's definitely a love to this movie for us, but I would probably, if I was trying to launch a career, would probably change my name for this film.
Yes. So I'll read the summary, then I'm going to talk briefly about another film that this is related to. But the summary is: two homicidal brothers, Michael Tutman and George Tutman, kill young women to use as ingredients in their rundown diner. They seek blood sacrifices to awaken a dormant Egyptian goddess, Sheetar.
Which sounds like something that was like a villain from He-Man to me. Doesn't it?
Yeah, you're thinking of She-Ra.
She-Ra, right? Yeah, but see, that would be like how like He-Man had that purple version of him, Faker. Sheetar would be She-Ra's villain.
Yeah, her
nemesis. Her doppelganger, so to speak.
So our original trivia question for this movie was probably a little on the easy side if you knew this movie at all, but it was originally intended to be a sequel to a movie called Blood Feast. And Blood Feast was a Herschel Gordon Lewis directed film from 1963 that and if you don't know who Herschel Gordon Lewis is, he is considered the godfather of gore. He basically invented splatter films.
I could see that. Why this one could have been a sequel then.
Yeah, in 1963, and I watched almost all of Blood Feast. I haven't quite finished it; just ran out of time. But it's also available on Shudder, and the level of gore for the time period is pretty insane. I am guessing people back then that went to see this movie were probably freaking out at the gratuitousness of the violence and the gore on the screen.
Now, how much? Oh, sorry. How much before Blood Diner was this? When did you say 84? You said
no, 63.
So wow,
way before.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, a long time ago. Okay,
and it's not a good movie. It's terrible acting. The weird soundtrack with like this weird organ, almost calliope music, which doesn't jibe well with the gore you're seeing. But the effects are still over the top. They kind of have that Italian horror movie flavor. Some of those over the top effects that you'd see from Argento and Fulci and those guys.
Is Peter what is his name? Peter Bark in there?
No, Peter Bark's not in there. But it's worth watching because it's pretty impressive the kind of gore and stuff they show on screen for that. Again, keeping in mind the time period. So when they went out to make Blood Diner, this was supposed to be a sequel, and instead of playing it straight like Blood Feast was, they ended up making their own movie and going basically full dark comedy. Now, and I'm talking about they go very heavily on the comedy here.
I'd like to think it's intentional. It has to be.
But in Blood Feast, you have a man who is killing young women to awaken a dormant Egyptian goddess, just like this. Though, and I think in that film she's called, and forgive me, like, don't scream at the podcast if this isn't correct, because like I said, I just watched this briefly. I think her name is like Ishtar.
No, you're right. I did. It is Ishtar, because I was laughing at that when I saw the description of it, because all I could think of was that Dustin Hoffman movie, Ishtar.
Yeah. And So I think they just reversed the first syllable to make Sheetar.
Yeah. Well, now I guess maybe now they want to be more descriptive because since it's a female, they Sheetar, And actually, now that I say that over and over again, that is the perfect name for her in this movie.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that struck me was the villain in Blood Feast. Actually, I should say Uncle Anwar, who is the which we'll get to when we start discussing Blood Diner, who's the kind of the villain of Blood Diner, looks very similar to the villain in Blood Feast. And I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but I immediately picked up on it when I started watching Blood Feast. I was like, oh, that looks like Uncle Anwar. It is not the same character.
Oh, okay. Because Uncle Anwar is a treat.
Yeah, but it's not the same character, but he has a very similar look. He's kind of in the suit, and he's got kind of the same hairstyle and everything. So I'm kind of wondering if it was intentional or not.
It has to be, right? You figure it has to be.
I would hope so. I like to think it was. So let's get right into it. And Brian, I'm going to let you take the lead on most of this because you took extensive notes on this movie.
Yeah, way more than probably anyone ever has in history. But I did not want to miss any of the insanity that is this movie. And Tim summed it up perfectly when he told me, he said, just when I thought they couldn't go any further, they found a way to go further. Because by this sheer craziness, and this thing starts off with a bang. And we'll go into the first thing. It first starts off with an opening crawl reminiscent of something that you would see maybe in one of those old Hitchcock trailers, or the old 60s horror movies where they kind of give you a warning. So I'll read the warning in kind of the voice that the guy does it. I'll try my best here. It's like, warning. The truly unusual motion picture you're about to see contains many scenes of graphic violence. It is not intended for the faint of heart, nor the young and impressionable. While it is a sad fact that mass homicide and practitioners of blood cults infest our society, the producers of this film wish to express that they do not condone, nor do they want to inspire, any of the human butchery or violence portrayed in this film. If you feel you will be offended by such material, please leave the theater at once. Note: all the mutilations, bodily dismemberments, and cannibal rituals were performed by seasoned professionals. Please do not attempt any of these stunts at home. Thank you.
And that pretty much sets a tone for what you're about to get.
Yeah, right off that, you're like, wow, this is going to be an interesting film.
And it's worth stating what I thought this movie was going to be. Because, like I said, we've seen the box art from the VHS days. I've seen this box art dozens of times walking through the movie store. I thought it was your typical kind of Motel Hell type, two butchers, serving human meat at a diner.
Yeah, the way the box art is that knife, a bloody knife, held over a diner, and it just, I thought it was like a Motel Hell or a slasher that's killed from the diner, something, or an angry chef that used his victims in the food. It was definitely had that vibe from the poster art. Well, while you get some of that, you get way more.
It is not that movie at all.
No.
Okay, so we'll go right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
So the movie starts off with these two brothers playing. You find out one's Michael, one's Georgie, they call him. And they're sitting there. Michael seems to be practicing learning how to hypnotize people by using one of those black cat clocks that you've all seen from the 70s, where it's got those big wide eyes and the clock is on the stomach and the eyes kind of move back and forth. You've seen that before. And then he actually tries hypnotizing the dog. And and then you see Georgie, who is obviously the chef in the family, as he's making these elaborate meals out of Play-Doh. Which actually, I gotta tell you, is pretty impressive the way he was doing that. That was obviously before actually, maybe not. That was 87, so they probably had those preset Play-Doh meal play sets, but he was doing it all on his own. You could tell, I don't think they were that well off, because they kind of had, the house was a mess and everything. And then the mother comes out and tells the boys, she says, guys, be careful, I'm going to be gone for about 10 minutes. And, quote, she's run out of goddamn tampons. Which is great to tell your impressionable young children. So they're sitting there playing, and the radio is playing this doo-woppy song that's going on, and the song is then interrupted by a news bulletin. And if there's any scene, if you didn't already get the kind of oddball movie you're going to get by either the opening crawl or the mother's first line, this line is going to do it. So the radio news broadcaster interrupts this song, and I swear it's the same voice as did the voiceover in the beginning. And Tim was gracious enough to write this verbatim, so I am not making this up, embellishing this in any way, but this is what was said. We interrupt this program to give you an important news bulletin. A suspect in the Happy Times all-girl Glee's Club slaying has fled the scene and managed to elude the police. He is armed and dangerous, and has been spotted in the West Side area, armed with a meat cleaver in one hand and his genitals in the other.
And at this point, I laughed out loud and paused the movie.
Yeah, I did as well. And just to give you a little snippet here, when Tim and I first decided, he was telling me about watching. This is before we decided this was going to be the main movie of the episode. I started watching it, but I didn't get a chance to finish it. So once I knew we were going to watch it, I decided to start from scratch. So I'd already seen this scene. And my poor wife is sitting there trying to finish up our taxes at the desk. And I'm watching this movie. And I guess, she's just kind of listening into it. When that line comes on, I see her head pop up, turn to look at the screen, and then turn to look at me with the most confused look on her face. I think I just said, yes, that's exactly what they said.
Can I just interject that Brian and I married absolute saints.
We did. We really did.
To put up with our mess. Oh my God.
Our mess, our collections, Blood Diner, Manitous, everything.
My wife came in tonight. I was watching Blood Feast, and she said, "What crazy movie are you watching now?" I just said it's called Blood Feast, and she walked out of the room.
And the best thing is they get along so well too. They've only got to hang out a couple times, but they hang out great. We'll hopefully we'll have some more fun times there in Carowinds, which will be good. But so that, I mean, in a movie just bombarded with what the F moments, this is definitely the first of many.
And they don't give any warning about the WTF. They just do it.
Right.
Like, it's just matter of fact. You go from one crazy sequence to another with literally no warning.
Right. And you almost, yet you never seem to expect it. Because you always think, okay, well, that's got to be the last one they'll do at that level. But they seem to top themselves every time. Yeah. Although this one's probably my favorite out of all of them, I think. Just that line. I mean, how often do you hear that line?
Yeah, one of the all-time best quotes.
Right, yeah. I mean, that rivals any one we've heard before. But, so... As sure enough, and here's another one of these classic kind of like misdirects from what you think you're gonna see. Now they set you up with that, so I'm assuming, okay, here's what's gonna happen. This guy is gonna come. This guy is gonna find his way to the kid's house. Either the mother's gonna walk back in, and the kids are traumatized. It makes them become like maniacs, and that's why they own this blood diner later on. But no, so I was right on part of it. You start to hear the sound of someone's trying to get in and start breaking through the door. And the boys get a little nervous, and sure enough, this axe comes through the door, and he chops through and runs in, and the boys actually seem excited, and they shout out, "Uncle Anwar!" So, apparently they're related to this crazy guy, who looks pretty good for a guy that apparently had his genitals in his hand just a few seconds ago.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were unattached or still attached. I don't know.
Yeah, they really didn't go into that. I guess that's the part you're supposed to make up for your own. We don't know where they are at this point. And the way this movie goes, I'm surprised you didn't see them at that point. But so he basically explains in this quick exposition that he kind of he messed up, and he gives him this amulet that's supposedly 5 million years old. And he tells them, he knows, I guess he's going to get caught, and they have to kind of continue his legacy here. And he says, don't forget me, and don't forget to study your book and Sheetar. So there's the first reference of Sheetar. So at that point, you kind of know, okay, this is probably not what we expected in this movie. So, he runs outside, and you hear him get gunned down. And then they show Michael, the little boy that was trying to hypnotize people. And by now holding this amulet, apparently his powers are now accelerated, and you can see him making the clock spin around at a rapid pace. So then we cut to 20 years later, and the boys I don't know why 20 years later this happened. There's really no explaining. I don't think it needs to this explanation. Yeah. But so it's 20 years later, and they're discovered by a security guard at the cemetery as they are digging up Uncle Anwar. And Mike, which is the one that I guess the hypnotizer. He's basically, it's good because one has dark hair, one has blonde, so it's easy to tell the two apart.
Yeah, they're like the Hazard boys from
Yes, exactly.
Bo and Luke Duke.
Exactly, and if they were crazy maniacs, but yeah. So so Michael comes up from behind the guard, slams him with a shovel, and his eyeballs pop right out of his head. To the ground, which you would think, oh, that's just funny of a gore effect. No, but that actually comes into play later, those eyeballs. But the funny thing is, it's such a bad effect that they toss the body aside, and you can see it complete with eyes still. So I don't know what was going on there, if they just grabbed a different dummy they used for the scene, or just they didn't care.
Yeah, don't make a drinking game out of all the goofs in this movie, because
oh no, you'd be blitzed.
You might be overdosed.
Yeah, you'd be gone in about the first 20 minutes. So they opened up the casket, and I guess the closest thing they have to a jump scare in this movie, and I say that very loosely, was I guess Uncle Anwar's corpse his arm pops up, and they kind of jump back, but then one of the brothers goes, "Oh look, he's happy to see us." So I guess the whole point was there, you find out, is that they take this hacksaw, they were trying to get his brain, which in a hilarious scene kind of like pops into the air out of his head.
Launches out of his head. And they don't, that's the thing, stuff like that happens in this movie, and they don't bother to explain it at all.
Or react as if it's weird.
No. The brain just literally shoots like 3 feet in the air, and then they just grab it. And
they catch it,
continue on their way,
put it in a jar, and then they're off their way. So yeah, so then we cut. It kind of cuts to a police station where, talk about bad acting. Both these cops. I mean, the police chief is over the top, but the other cop, Mark, he has to be playing this intentionally horrible. Because the way he acts is just his lines are delivered so weird and awkwardly, and he's wearing these crazy pants, and he's like the typical like 70s cop, even though this is now in the 80s. But I think the highlight of this scene to me is that if you look at the window, you could see the ad for Universal's Confrontation. So, so Tim and I, being big theme park and Universal and King Kong fans, this was kind of like a little fun bonus in there. So anyway, that was just to set up this character, basically. There's no other point for this scene. Because then we go back to the brothers who are now wearing these red ceremonial robes and apparently are beginning this ceremony to resurrect the Lumerian goddess Shitar. And I assume Lumeria is completely made up, right? Not really a historian in any way. So.
Lumerian sounds familiar.
Oh, so it's actually based on... That's actually impressive. They got something realistic, guess. But yes,
I'm no geographer.
Yeah. We'll have to look up at that, or if anyone wants to tweet us the Lumerian facts, go right ahead. But
for all our Lumerian listeners, we have a
I know there's one, right? I think we saw that. No, but so now the funny thing is, I almost forgot to mention. So from the moment they actually opened up the casket, Uncle Anwar can talk to them. So he's talking in this. In the same Uncle Anwar, this over-the-top voice.
Well, don't forget, he's a skeleton, but his brain is still
right.
intact.
His brain is completely intact, and so now they have him sitting there in a jar with the 2 eyeballs that got knocked out of the security guard stuck on him, so he could see now. So he can see what they're doing, and he's constantly, throughout the movie, he's criticizing them, telling them they're going too slow, they're fooling around, they're not focused, and so basically he's sitting there, and then you find out from Uncle Anwar one of the most hilarious lines in this movie. He tells them that he lost his genitals and his life due to lack of discipline. So, guy, if there's a lesson to be learned, have discipline, because you could lose your life and your genitals, apparently. So
not necessarily.
No, yeah, of course. Poor Uncle Anwar, he lost his genitals first. So you basically find out he's basically explaining that Shitar needs this new body, and it has to be made from the body parts of immoral girls and the blood of a virgin. So, as I wrote in the notes there, now, this is an 80s horror movie, so that should be easy to come by.
Yeah, which segues perfectly into the next scene.
Yes, which the brothers, you find out, they come out from the back, and they're running this, it's run down, but it's pretty successful, apparently, vegetarian health food diner, which just all those things contradict each other, in my opinion. But I don't know how most diners are not the best at providing a vegetarian.
Well, I love that they made it a vegetarian diner.
Right. And in a land, I mean, I know it's supposed to be, I guess, LA and Hollywood, but apparently it's like their competition they have, because there's other diners in the area that you find out that are vegetarian diners too. So that's an interesting sidebar to that. But so the patrons include in this diner, we see, is a group of cheerleaders who are trying to pressure the nice good girl cheerleader into participate in a topless aerobics video. So there you go. Hello, immoral girls, and hello, virgins, right on cue.
Well, there's a lot of topless aerobics.
Right. Which
in this sequence, and all I could think of was I had just listened to the Missing Richard Simmons podcast.
Oh,
and they were talking about his aerobics workout studio that he ran. Even after he got famous, he still ran this little, like 20-person aerobics class.
So maybe this was filmed there?
Well, that's all I could think of. I was like, what if this was like what it was like inside?
Oh my god, that would have been crazy.
Like all these these topless 80s women doing jumping jacks and stuff. I don't know.
That
weird thought.
yeah.
That's how my brain works, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Hey, no judgment. Look what movie we're watching. Can we who could judge us? I mean, who could judge anybody, right? So
my brain goes to dark places while I'm watching this.
Yeah, I don't blame you with this one. So we're also introduced to another interesting character who comes named Horatio Titus, who calls himself Vitamin C. But he acts like we're supposed to get that joke. I don't, other than vitamin C, I guess being health, but he acts like it has to do with the Horatio Titus portion of it, so...
Well, like, he's this huge, heavy-set
right.
guy that's supposedly a vegetarian.
Right, and who's all into health food and has nothing but health food. He's got to be the most unhealthiest vegetarian health nut I've ever seen in my life. And he has another classic line. I sorry you're gonna hear a lot of quotes from this movie, but this one was too good because he goes, "That was the best friggin' veggie burger I had in a son of a bitch long time." I didn't even know. I can't believe I actually got through saying it. That it's so awkward.
And I don't even know. Like, we're probably not doing it justice.
No, I did
because you have to watch it like his delivery.
Yeah, I think we need Kevin Wilson, your brother, to do that line because if he saw that, he'd probably be quoting it to a T in perfect pitch and everything. But and he also kind of convinced, I guess, that there's meat in it because it's too good of a veggie burger, and he's had them all supposedly. But I guess it pisses off the Georgie because he kind of punches him or something, or puts him in a minor chokehold this time. And when I say this time is because we'll get to that later. But we see that he is right, actually. So vitamin C is kind of onto them because we see that they are using human body parts as ingredients. As there's like a bowl of olives with a couple of eyeballs in it, and some other I guess body parts are strewn around.
They don't try to hide it.
No, they don't, which is amazing. That where's the, especially for a quote unquote health food restaurant, you figure that has to be a health inspector coming into this place and. But no, I guess in this, or if they did, he's probably in the bouillabaisse or something. But so Michael ends up going over to Connie, which is a good girl. Which at one point I'm actually like, oh, maybe he's having a change of heart. Maybe he's gonna really like her. But then I kind of remembered, no, he's looking for a nice virginal girl. So he invites her to the upcoming Lumerian feast that they're going to host, and he says this as if everyone should know what the heck a Lumerian feast is, but. As you'll notice many times in this movie, the reality that's accepted in this film is off the charts. So now after that, we kind of cut to the topless cheerleader heroic video shoot in Richard Simmons' studio.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. We're now in the actual video shoot,
right? And apparently the Richard Simmons aerobic studio, which is now what will always be known as, regardless of whether it's true. And so Georgie and Michael come in and interrupt with machine gun fire, wearing masks of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, apparently. Which I guess
I will say this sequence kind of disturbed me in light of current events. Where it seems like there's like a mass shooting all the time. Like in some respects, back then it might have played more for laughs, but these days I was kind of like,
it's almost all too real these days.
It's all too real. I could see that actually happening. Yeah,
it was, and this one, out of all the scenes, most of the killings in this movie have this tongue-in-cheek humor to it, and this one almost it was a prophetic, as it did not. It was kind of harsh, actually. There was nothing funny about it. After the fact, it gets funny again in the aftermath, as because Uncle Anwar tells them they have to collect 8 tongues for the stew and 1 head for Shitar. They keep giving him these shopping list of body parts. Can you imagine? Just because I know my wife and I use Cozy. I don't know if you know that app where it's like shopping lists. I could just see them back in the day using that as like, okay, 8 tongues, check. 1 head, check. So then our famous cops arrive on the scene, and
oh my god,
this part, I don't know why I could not stop laughing at this part. So the cop,
I had to rewind it and watch it.
I did too. I'll let you take this one because I'm gonna not get through it without laughing.
So there's the chief cop, and I guess his I don't know what you call him. He's like the kind of the sidekick cop, Mark, and I can't remember exactly what Mark said, but he makes a bad joke. The chief cop just hauls off and punches him in the stomach as hard as he can.
It's like really hard.
and then apologizes and says he went too far. This isn't the first time. This won't be the first time he does that.
No, and it was so quick to apologize after.
It's like this recurring, like, he just hauls off and just punches him in the stomach. And it's a perfect description for how this film goes. Like, they just do that kind of stuff out of the blue and just keep going.
Yeah. And I think later he goes to punch him and he actually moves away. It's like their version of a running gag, I guess, in this movie.
Yeah, it was so funny.
But yeah, I think I rewound that a few times because it was cracking me up. And then if the crazy characters we've met so far weren't enough, enter Sheba Jackson, who
at first I thought was Tootie from Facts of Life.
Yes, it did kind of look like her.
I swear I thought it was. It looked like her. It's not.
It did. It's definitely not. Sorry to Kim Fields because this woman.
I was hoping Kim Fields did not stoop to this.
Yeah,
movie.
that would be because obviously she did not learn any facts of life. she ended up in this thing, but and I throughout this whole movie I could not get what type of accent she had. She had the most obscure accent. I asked Julie. She said it was almost like a part Jamaican accent, part. I can't even. You know what? There's no way to even describe it. It has to be heard to be understood. It's the most obscure accent, but she kind of has this. You could tell it's kind of almost like a play of when Pam Grier played those cops. You know, like that. Yeah. Like that's what I got. They were trying to go for and kind of. I mean, I would like to say homage, but this movie I don't think has that. I don't know if they homage anything, but so. And of course, Mark is immediately attracted to her. I guess he's getting sick of getting punched in the stomach by his boss. So he tries to seduce her by making these weird facial tongue gestures, and then stops when they find out that 8 tongues were missing from this. So and I tell you, we are not making any of this up. You need to see this. It's on Shudder right now. You need to watch this movie. So after that, and then the chief who has some nerve making this pun after he's beaten up his underling there with this says, "I hope I can collect enough guts to call these girls' parents." Insert groan. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But so then we go back to the diner and. Our good friend Vitamin C is back, and Georgie is kind of ignoring him as he's watching wrestling on TV. And there's a character, I guess he must be the John Cena of this world, Little Jimmy Hitler.
Foreshadowing.
Big foreshadow that still comes out of the blue at some level, if that could happen. But so he's all worked up. As watching this wrestling, he's really getting into it, which, like Tim said, we will find out later why. And Vitamin C makes a comment, so he turns off and all hyped up from watching this wrestling starts to severely choke him, causing him to vomit literally all over the entire restaurant and every patron in it. So then, in a theme in this movie where after such a horrible thing happened, they quickly apologize, they give him another meal, and apparently the diner is now perfectly clean, if you notice. No one's upset that they got this fat bastard vomiting all over him. And all he has to say is, well, now I gotta start all over again. And he's filling his stomach up again with this. So, yeah, this one just... And what's strange is, for some reason, this is one of the more normal scenes in the movie.
Yeah, I know. It makes me want to watch it again. Yeah, I swear. I want to turn right around and watch it again.
Yeah, this is definitely... We know there is a good Blu-ray release of this, so I think this is a must-buy now after this. So our good virginal Connie comes back to the diner, and Michael, pretending to be the good guy, goes out there and comforts her because she's all upset, realizing that if she would have done that quote-unquote topless video, she would have been killed. And I guess someone had threatened her or something. I don't know. So Michael says, don't worry, he'll look out for her. And he gives her the amulet. And poor Connie is so oblivious to the fact how creepy it is that he basically says he will be her protector and that she belongs to Sheetar now. And so she is I guess just so happy that someone cares about her. Doesn't say a word. So we go to show the brothers again, and they're basically sewing their new body parts back together to create Sheetar's, I guess, life body. And Uncle Anwar comes up in another one of his award-winning lines where he says, "I let my schlong do my thinking for me. I got confused." So
it's pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. Thank you. So and that's another one, Julie, who was still God bless her, still in the room while I was watching that, kind of said, "Did he just say a slang? Did this thing?" So
doing taxes like a normal person.
While I'm watching the most obscure movie in history, and then I guess they got to go into this weird flashback of Uncle Anwar, and I guess that's him killing the Glee Club people, and I assume. It was weird. A weird placement.
That's what I gathered from it.
Yeah. So they basically complete the body, but apparently they need 2 stomachs of immoral girls again. Now, why they didn't just take them from the other stash of immoral girls that they just slaughtered is beyond me, but I guess they need...
Maybe the ingredients have to come from separate women.
You know what? Actually, now that you said that, I think they may have actually somehow dropped a line in that kind of explained of all the things that they leave unexplained. You may have a point. I think they may have dropped a line about that. But so then now just I don't even know where to go with this scene.
This was one of my favorite sequences.
All right, now I will let you go through this one because this one is just is bizarre.
So they go to this dance club, and it's like I wish I could describe their outfits. Like they're trying to look cool and blend in, so they're wearing like these almost cartoonish 80s outfits. One of the guys has it almost looks like a Prince costume.
Yeah.
Kind of, and they've got this like incredibly bouffant wigs on. I mean, it's completely over the top. It's what you would wear to a Halloween party if you were trying to be funny. Right. But they play it straight, like they're trying to blend in. And call me crazy, I kind of like that song that the band was playing in there.
Yeah, it was catchy.
It was really good. I was like, dang, I kind of like this song. I'll have to go back and I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was right now, but I just remember really liking it.
And the bands that appear in this movie they go from having really good to obscure, as we'll get to later scene. But this band was actually pretty good. It seems so out of place though in this club.
Like, all the songs in this movie are actually kind of good.
Yeah, they're very.
Like I kind of want this soundtrack.
Is there such a thing? We need to look this up. We need to see if there's a Blood Diner soundtrack.
If not, there should be.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they get in
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I know what's coming.
They get in a fight with this bouncer and throw him under a car that has the hydraulic bouncing thing going on, and it crushes his head, and so they're all laughing, and everything just continues on as normal as if nothing happened.
Right, the other bouncer.
And that's like this whole movie. Like they just killed the bouncer and crushed his head. They're like, ha ha ha. And they keep going.
And there's another bouncer there that acts like, oh well, I guess he's out of work, you know. I mean, it's like what is going? That's like WTF moment number like 5, I think, at this point. But still, I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Is like the reality that takes place in this film is like so bizarre, but it's accepted and it makes sense somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. So this whole sequence at the club is setting up them acquiring, and I'm skipping over a section because we're going to probably talk about it for a minute,
right?
But we'll come back to it. But their whole goal is to pick up 2 girls at the club and bring them back to the diner so they can harvest their parts.
Right. I think this is the stomachs, right? They need the stomachs now.
Right. Yeah, they need the stomachs. But before that, we cut to Mark and Sheba, who are at a competing restaurant, and so this is one of the most WTF points of the entire movie, and me and Brian both got hung up on this.
Yeah, and we both had the same thought process, which is what's frightening about it.
So they're sitting there talking, and there's this it's a mannequin, right? It's like a dummy. Yeah. And like the head looks like it's not even like a professional mannequin head. It's crude, almost like a puppet.
I said it was like those heads we bid on in the Knott's Berry Farm auction. That's what it kind of looked like. That
yeah, like imagine like an old theme park mannequin, like miner head or something, is what it looks like. And this guy is set up like this mannequin is set up like he's eating a bowl of soup, and it's taught.
Did you realize what you just said? Just listening to you describe that is hilarious.
But the mannequin, like they're talking, like the Mark and Sheba are talking to the mannequin, and it's sitting there talking back to him and answering their questions, like, I don't know, And he talks in this high pitched voice. I can't even get that.
Yeah, it's like Frankie Valli. It's like falsetto.
Yeah, and he's like answering their questions, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, did they run out of actors and they just put this mannequin there and they're just going to start? Am I supposed to believe this mannequin is real?
Yeah, you're literally you're watching this thing, and for a good, I think, 2 minutes, this is going on, and I did, and I thought Tim and I were talking about this before. We both thought the same thing. We're like, I think they're they couldn't afford one more actor in this thing, so they're expecting us now. They figured we've got this far, we'll buy anything. Apparently, at this point, so apparently we're supposed to expect this mannequin now is an actor, I guess. But
oh my god, I was dying at that part. Like, I believe. No, I had already messaged Brian earlier and told him, like, you're not gonna believe this movie. But,
you prepped me as well as you could have, I guess, for this film. But
I think at this point was where my jaw literally dropped. But we are given a little bit of a reprieve from the craziness, because we finally cut back to the restaurant owner and see that he's actually doing the voice for the mannequin. I guess he fancies himself a ventriloquist of some sort.
Right, because I guess he's not a good restaurateur, so...
Like everything in this movie, it's not explained why he's a ventriloquist and why he has a mannequin that he pretends is alive, or why people treat it as a real person.
Right, I mean, I only assume he's probably trying to make his diner look busy, but I don't... But I can't...
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
But the thing, like you said, there's no explanation on why... I get it. Like, you put a mannequin in there, someone drives by, okay, it looks busy, someone must eat there. But then they go in, that's where the charade should end. You should just be able to go, okay, I fell for it. But this guy takes it to the point of where you're going to start having conversations with it. And these are supposedly cops that are supposedly on this case are literally discussing things with a mannequin. Which you realize is like no hope for them to solve this case, apparently. But
no, so the brothers end up picking up these two girls who are basically all over him and bring them back to the diner. And so Georgie is a little more hesitant with the ladies. So
yeah,
Michael's sitting there.
He's more childlike, I think, through the whole movie.
Yeah, he's almost like borderline, seems almost kind of mentally damaged or something. But so Michael was making out with his girl, and he basically suggests that Georgie do the same. Why don't y'all go in another room? Trying to kind of get him out of the picture so that he can kill his girl. And so he starts playing this kinky sex game where he's going to batter her up. So there's a lot of shots of him battering her boobies.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Didn't he say, like, did you ever play, like, batter the something? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really into it at this point. So he's battered all up. And I don't know where this is going at this point. So then he ends up shoving her head into the deep fryer. Now, I was totally expecting, we would get some kind of horror effect where her skin's melting off, or, when he pulls her out of the fryer, she's going to have like
a skull.
Like a skull or something. I was totally expecting that. Well, instead, she jumps out of the fryer. And what did you call it?
I said her head looked like a giant deep fried Zeppeli.
I don't know what a Zeppeli is.
I'm sorry. That's like those little puff pastries you'll get at like a pizza place. But it's literally fried dough, essentially.
Yeah, I'm from the South. I don't know what this is.
All right, when you come to visit, I will make sure you get a premier Zeppeli.
But I do know deep fried.
Right. So it's basically deep fried dough is what a Zeppeli is.
Okay, but yeah, it's a perfectly round deep fried ball on her head, and so she goes running, screaming, quote unquote, because she has no mouth. She's completely fried into this ball. And so he runs after her and ends up knocking her whole head off.
Which, of course, since it's a perfect ball now, rolls completely into the back, right where, I guess,
and they don't even acknowledge it. That's what's...
They don't realize it's funny. A head.
They don't realize it's her head. So she's still screaming for her friend. And, oh man, this was a great... I'm sure this was intentional because it was absolutely brilliant. But so Georgie's girl freaks out. She's trying to escape because she realizes what's going on now. And for some reason, she kind of acts like Georgie's maybe not in on it because she's kind of looking for him.
Yeah, she's like Georgie, help!
Yeah. But she tries to escape, and then in basically a classic send up of horror movies where the lead or the victim acts completely stupid. Right. She goes, "Oh, I forgot my purse," and runs back in to get her purse. Of course, spills it.
Yeah. And
she's like trying to gather all her stuff up like her hairbrush is that important. So she's like trying to stuff everything back in her purse.
Yeah, she had some other odd things in there that just look so out of place and so unnecessary. Grab your keys and leave if you're really gonna.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously intentionally to send up, stupid horror decisions. But when she goes to run back out the door, Georgie's there. And again, another over-the-top effect. completely cleaves her in half with a machete.
That was actually, but you're right. That was a cool scene because that's like good on slasher kill right there. No, not ridiculous at some. I mean, ridiculous, but the like typical ridiculous, if that makes sense. You know, it's like a like right in half.
Yeah, but that was pretty great.
Yeah. So then this part, So then I guess this homeless woman finds like the loose hand holding one of the amulets. Now, how many of these things do they have lying around? Because it seems like she has one. The two brothers are supposed to have one. But I guess Michael gives his away. So if this is the other one, did they not have them anymore at all?
Yeah, this one came from... I remember when I watched it, I remember where this one came from. But it made sense. It was one of the... I think it was the deep fried ladies.
Oh, so she hadn't?
Was it? Yeah, I think she had grabbed it. I think they should have seen where she had grabbed it. She had pulled it off of it. Remember, she had pulled it off of Michael's... I don't know if he had it in his ear as an earring.
Oh, right.
And she had pulled it off and still had it grasped in her hand. That's where it came from.
Right. But my thing is, I thought they needed these things around them to get stuff done. Because, I mean, unless they had a whole box of these... I don't know. But, yeah.
It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
I mean, really, it's like the things I think I have to question this because this is the one question that there may be an answer to, I guess. But, so, anyway, they find this amulet, and I guess, and Mark and Sheba decide to bring it to a archaeologist that are in the middle of this dig, apparently, in the middle of Los Angeles. Which, hey, in this movie, you know what? That's one of the least surprising things.
I love how they're talking about the archaeologist knows all about Sheetar and the blood buffet that they're trying to do, and she's describing these orgies and things, and all the other archaeologists like stop.
They're like, "What the hell?"
and are staring at her while she's talking about these crazy orgies and feasts that these people are having. It just struck me as funny. It's like that's probably a very realistic
that
reaction.
Exactly. I'd be like, what are you doing? And I think this is when they first mentioned the blood buffet, which for some reason later on like Uncle Anwar calls it the blood buffet. So he says it in like only the way Uncle Anwar can. So then if you notice, I don't know if you saw it, but they go back when they cut back to the brothers kind of making the stew, they pan through the diner, and Teddy from Friday the 13th Part 4 is one of the patrons in the diner. You see him for like a split second.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. All I could think of is, Ted, where's the corkscrew, Ted? You know, Crispin Glover's awesome acting chops there. So, so he was in there. I'm almost positive as they pan through. At this point already, I was keeping the momentum, so I kept stopping it way too often to make sure I got these lines down. I'm like, all right, I'll just say it looks like him enough. I'm not going to stop here. But then it's time for another Uncle Anwar great line when he yells out, "Put this slut on the shopping list." And then because apparently he says they need lungs and a liver from 2 sluts. Specifically 2 sluts. So at this point, they have to do this, but Michael needs to realize that he needs to get Connie over to the Lumerian feast they're having. So he tries to ask her out on a date. She's not she doesn't really want to do it. She's making up an excuse. I got to study. I know all the good girl excuses, whatever she has. But he uses his brainwashing powers to convince her to go. But they have to go to, I guess, this is where you find out that Georgie is also apparently this amateur wrestler. So that's where they're going to go on their date, and then I guess go to this Lumerian feast afterward. So, and then in a scene, I guess because they just needed to show that, in case you forgot, the theme of this film, the IRS dude shows up, they go up, they hack his fingers off, and then like almost like a one-shot, like kind of like a Citizen Kane. It's like he goes in the back, comes back with his fingers, drops it into the fryer, and then it's served. All in I think one shot. I don't know, maybe there's a cut in there. But, that is probably the only time you will ever hear Citizen Kane and this film discussed in the same sentence. But,
yeah.
But, so you got, and Uncle Anwar at this point, I think is becoming impatient. I think he's starting to get nervous that his 2 nephews are going to mess this thing up because they're getting a little sloppy. And, so I guess they find out that one of the particular slut they're looking for is, I guess, with her boyfriend Buzz out in some cave at the beach or something. So he sends George to go get her, and this part is just the most random sequence. I say that so often in this, but so I
was sitting here laughing about it because I can't.
So as George is driving and he's all enjoying his drive, and he sees his biker on the side of the road broken down who tries to call him over. So instead of passing him by, no, he just decides to run him over. But he runs him over pretty severely, but as you see, he gets up and kind of starts staggering, and so Georgie backs up and runs him over again.
And there's a song played on the radio that I can't remember.
Yeah, another one of the classic songs.
The segment is on YouTube. You need to go, if nothing else, this will give you a feel for
yeah. And so he literally, it's this sequence for about 5 minutes of him running over this guy, him getting up, running him over again. Finally, the biker gets up, he starts limping, and then you see Georgie kind of run him over a couple of times, and then he moves on, so you assume he's dead. But so then he finally gets over the location where the couple is having sex, and Georgie comes up behind. I guess he knocks the guy out first, and then goes to grab the woman who is now completely nude, and starts. It's like he's facing off with her, and she starts all of a sudden getting into this martial arts pose and starts doing karate. So I put the two hashtags of hashtag naked karate or hashtag kung nude. Because this scene is it's such gratuitous nudity with...
This is another one where my jaw was literally on the floor.
Yeah, this is just hilarious. And she actually starts kicking his butt a little bit.
Yeah.
So... she kind of knocks him out, I guess, incapacitates him briefly, so she runs over to get her boyfriend, and inexplicably a stalactite falls from the top of the cave and impales her in the head. Which, just, what the hell? It's like... And so Georgie, I guess, comes back from consciousness at that point and kind of grabs her and takes her off. So he pretty much, even in his infutility, manages to get his job done when he needs to do. So... then our great crack police squad comes onto the case, and the boyfriend, Buzz, I guess, is crying uncontrollably. Mark is so unsympathetic, but, at the whole thing. And then Sheba arrives to explain about the cults of Lumeria, which she all of a sudden finds out about now, I guess. I guess she took it from the archaeologist, but she seems to know a lot more, and seems like she's now this, topic expert on it. And she mentions in a throwaway line... that our biker friend, who was run over literally at least 30 times, died of a heart attack. And she even said, I think, even though he's all messed up, he ain't died of a heart attack. So it was such an unnecessary sequence, but that made it so great. But the chief is mad now he thinks that Mark and Sheba now are ridiculous, and it's just a regular crazy person murdering these people. So I guess the brothers are now trying to learn about the next step they need to do. They find out they need a bunch of participants for the Lumerian feast, but they're trying to figure out how to make sure people are there and eating stuff. So I guess they have this hunger on pill that they've been using, that Michael apparently uses when business is slow, which explains a lot of why so many people are in that crazy diner. And because you find out that the participants essentially have to ravage the blood buffet, and Shitar must eat the virgin simultaneously, all before tomorrow at midnight. So they've got a very strict schedule and a timeline here. So at this point already, does anything surprise you in this, right?
No.
Yeah. So... apparently then, while this is all going on, the competing restaurateur Stan and his mannequin, I guess, break into the brothers' cafe to steal their secret recipes, because he just thinks they have these great recipes that's attracting all his business away. Not that, I mean, let's see. I mean, if you think about it, the options in that town for health food is a diner that uses human flesh, or a restaurateur who... talks to a mannequin eating soup. So, yeah, I guess he thinks it's the recipes, though. So he goes in there, breaks in there, and it kind of cuts to the brothers why they're not at the restaurant. They're basically setting up the feast at that same club, who for some reason, the owners are a guy in a karate gi, and a guy that looks like that stereotype movie director in every movie that features a movie director in it. He's got the hat on, the sunglasses, the whole thing, and apparently his business partner is a karate expert, which I assume, right? Those are the owners. That has to be, I guess, right?
I guess.
Yeah, and I guess he bribes him with, he says, don't worry, you'll get the business, because he gives him like buckets and buckets of those hunger pills. So then I guess they apparently this detective, the Mark and Sheba now are actually really focusing on this case, because they decide to go talk to the cop who handled Uncle Anwar's case, because I guess they found out about the similar case, and you find out also in a connection that really goes nowhere, that it's also Connie's, the good girl's father. So, and they kind of show another flashback to show the scene you didn't get to see, because when you find out Anwar was shot, it was just audio. Now,
did you catch the big goof here?
No.
So when in the opening we see that Uncle Anwar was shot in the daytime, but the flashback he's being shot at night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I even caught that one.
Well, shame on them for having just one continuity error.
Yeah.
so now we're.
Oh wait, I have to say a little bit about this one, Brian,
yeah,
before we get to this next section. So, true confession, I fell asleep at this point. So, and it wasn't because of the movie; it was because we had a big cookout for Easter, and I was like dead tired, and we had gone to the beach and all this stuff, so I was like exhausted. So I'm sitting here watching it in my office, and at some point I had drifted off. And I woke up during this next sequence.
Oh, and the wrestling
so
match?
The wrestling match.
Oh.
So you can imagine the thoughts running through my mind when I wake up to see this.
Yeah, this is...
Of course, obviously, I went back and rewound everything and caught back up, but it was just funny that this is what I wake up to.
Yeah, this is just... yes, in a movie full of just obscurities and more obscurities, they have this wrestling match that Georgie, who goes by Luscious Lou the Lumerian, which all I think of is Gozer the Gozerian, remember?
Yeah.
So, and he's wrestling his nemesis, Little Jimmy Hitler, who you have to understand what this guy looks like. Little Jimmy Hitler is this huge, tall, blonde guy with a Hitler mustache and a swastika armband. So, and he's the face, the favorite in this. He's the fan favorite.
Yeah.
So, which just shows.
Yeah, they love him.
Yeah, they just love Nazi replicas in this, because so he's out there, and I guess it's some sort of amateur wrestler challenge thing. So anyway, Georgie gets out there, and he's literally getting his ass kicked, and this guy is toying with him, and his brother, being loyal, is cheering him on. So, but he realizes he's about to lose. So he takes out a slingshot, shoots Jimmy Hitler in the back with whatever it was, and he turns around and then allows Georgie to get the upper hand. And so basically Georgie gets a hold of him and literally starts to eat his leg. and again, everyone's just accepting this, that it's okay. And he's literally chewing on it. Blood is splattering all over. Of all people, poor Connie, who's sitting in there, who got dragged to this thing. And she's all freaking out. So she's like, just take me home, take me home. So Michael knows he can't do that, so he just punches her out cold. So this poor girl already.
This is what I woke up to.
Oh my god. I mean, you're lucky you didn't have nightmares after this one.
I know.
So through this, Mark and Sheba are still on the case, and I guess Mark calls her and asks Sheba. I guess he realizes, he goes, you know what? Maybe there's relatives of Anwar, because the cases are so similar. Maybe there's relatives around, so to look for them. So right on cue, as he's hearing this, the boys drive up in the van for the diner. And for some reason, they get to the stoplight. While she's on the phone with him trying to discuss this, Georgie is acting all sorts of immature, and he moons her, and then bare-ass farts right at her to torment her. And she throws a burger at him. I mean, just weird stuff going on. And the van drives away, and she sees the name on the thing that says Tutman's Cafe. And she realizes that Anwar's last name was Nantut. So, spelled backwards, it's Tutman. So she decides she's going to follow them. So she follows them, and they start to do this ceremony and realize that Uncle Anwar is now missing. So they see the broken lock, and they immediately assume it's Stan, who's the other restaurateur, with the mannequin. So they head out, but Sheba gets there right at that moment, but Michael comes back and knocks her out and kind of chains her up against the wall, taking her out of commission. So they get over to the diner where Stan is basically trying to create these recipes, but Anwar, I think, is giving him fake stuff until, hopefully he gets rescued. And so they arrive there, and I guess Michael's first salvo to this thing is he stabs Stan in the shoulder, who then takes out a gun, and he's trying to aim at him, and Michael starts using the mannequin as a shield. Which to me was just cracking me up because, you know how much this mannequin apparently means to the Stan, and he's holding him back and forth. So apparently, eventually, I think it's Georgie then comes by and slices off one of Stan's arms.
This was such a funny scene.
This part was hysterical. So the blood's spewing out, typical cheesy horror effect, and then he tries to get around him, and then he cuts off his other hand. So now...
And he's trying to drive with these two bloody stumps, and the whole time he's like, motherfuckers, tell you to make me cripple.
Yeah, he's like arguing, and he's literally driving with his wrists because he's got no hands, and blood is just pouring on the windshield and splattering onto where he can't see.
And he's not even scared. He's just still pissed off that they cut both of his hands off.
That doesn't even care that he's like, he's just all grumbling and stuff. So he eventually, since he can't see anymore, ends up crashing his car into, like, I guess an embankment of some sort. So then they show that Mark actually gets to the diner and rescues Sheba. So they go off together trying to, to finally solve this case. And then you see Michael and Georgie are heading to the club with Connie in tow because and then poor Connie again, right? George is in the back with her as she's tied up, and he decides to start cutting open, Sheetar's head because I assume he's going to put the brain in there. And blood starts splattering on poor Connie again. And then insult to injury because the van is shaking. Whatever fluid was in the jar is pouring now on her head. So this girl has got just horrible luck with stuff. I mean, and then some, right? So then they're at the club, and you see the guests taking on all those hunger pills. So I mean, how do you explain this club scene at this point?
They start turning almost into like zombies,
right?
From eating this stuff, and the makeup. Oh my god! Obviously, the budget's starting to wear thin at this point because it's basically people in green face paint.
Yeah, I mean,
like badly done green face paint.
Yeah, this was and talk about I know we had mentioned the band in this. This band was one for the ages. It was basically made up of someone in one of those 2-person horse costumes, a blue-haired woman, some punk guy, and 2 Hitlers. And I kid you not, that is this band.
It was awesome. I would pay to see this.
Yeah, band, I don't know what the name of this band was, but it had to have been an epic band name. But so that's all going on, and people are now starting to eat the stew. I think they're starting to eat each other. I guess is the blood buffet. So and I guess they have Connie laying on the altar up at the stage. And basically now, like, this melee has started while going around. The punk singer guy comes over and he kind of chops that horse costume in half with the guitar and then smacks the butt of the girl in the band with the blue hair. It's such a throwaway scene, yet it's freaking hilarious. Because you just can't make this up. I mean, this is all happening, and we're leaving stuff out, I think. I know I'm trying to...
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we are.
Yeah, I mean, we're going really detailed into this because it's so hilarious, but I'm sure we're missing some parts. I mean, but, so at this point, I guess Sheetar begins to awake.
Now, the effects on Sheetar are actually pretty darn good.
Right, well, there's your budget. That's where the budget is.
Yeah, she's got this mouthpiece in that covers her teeth, and basically it makes it look like she has, like, these big gums and these, like, needle teeth.
Yeah.
It's kind of freaky looking. It kind of remind me of that thing on Fright Night.
Yeah,
Fright Night with the real sharp teeth. Yeah, that's what it
reminds me of. Yeah, so I mean, actually, within this crazy movie, there are some gem scenes in there. This is definitely one of them. Yeah, the makeup on her and the effects on her were great, and so I guess basically her stomach literally starts to open, and that's where she has to get fed the virgin.
Yeah, her stomach becomes a mouth.
Yeah, it's bad mouth. And we have that hashtag, I think, mouth stomach, right? What do I have there? A stomach mouth. Or mouth stomach. It could be either.
Mouth stomach.
Yeah. So we're getting hashtag mania today. But so he so she starts starting to come alive, and she starts like oozing out this green slime out of her mouth, and the Mark comes in after Sheba. Oh no, that's right. Sheba comes in and she actually shoots the knife out of Michael's hand. He's about to use, I guess, to sacrifice and get the blood of Connie. And then so Mark eventually comes in, and in one of the, it's like a twist on, I guess, those, like, sorry, I'm late, honey, or something lines. He just says, sorry, I'm late. I couldn't find a parking spot. Just like, it fits so perfectly in this movie. And so that's going on. And then all of a sudden, Sheetar now can shoot lightning out of her fingers. And she's like, just pointing and hitting people and killing them.
Oh, it's that great 80s bad lightning
right
effect.
Yeah, that like
it's
that
like
one
hand
that
drawn on.
Yeah, like it's totally like they lost their effects budget at that point again. And so this club is being destroyed, and all while Michael's trying to feed Connie into Sheetar's stomach. But Mark comes in and shoots him and takes Connie away, but George kind of like throws this like chain with like one of those hooks at the end of it and starts pulling him back and tries to feed him to Sheetar now, although that kind of defeats the whole purpose of this ritual. But at this point, I guess they don't care. But Sheba comes up, saves him, and kind of knocks George's head into the mouth stomach, and they leave. And in another one of the lines that I just don't understand, the chief asks, "So Mark, how you doing?" He says, "Fine for a white boy," which I don't understand. Why?
It doesn't make any.
It makes
like
no sense.
And it's funny because of it.
It is. It's funny because what the hell? Why is that line in there? But so after, like, there's this whole aftermath of just people like body parts and strewn all over. I mean, it literally is a blood buffet, as Uncle Anwar would say. So he as this is all going on, they're doing the cleanup. You kind of see this woman just from the waist down, kind of walking out of the club, and you see her walking down the street, and some guy starts picking her up with some lines. And then in the final great line we get in this movie, he basically propositions her and says, "Before I put my big sausage in you, what's your name?" And it cuts up to her face, and you see the teeth that we just mentioned, and she goes, "Sheetar." And the movie ends.
It's so great.
So,
oh my god, this movie, you have got to get this movie with a bunch of friends with some alcohol.
Yes.
And watch this movie, because it is that kind of movie. Like,
yeah, and we'll jump ahead right now, since you mentioned alcohol, to our beer pairing, just so we'll touch on that. Tim came up with the perfect one, which is by Dogfish
and I've had this one, so you can find it. It's easy to find.
This one is, and it's good. So I'll let Tim describe which one this is.
Yeah, so my beer pairing this week is by Dogfish Head Brewery, and it is called the Flesh and Blood IPA, and it's got blood oranges in it. Absolutely delicious.
Yes, really good.
I love this one. I had it up in Charlotte for the first time when we went to the Bad Monster Party convention. So
yeah,
it's
good.
Try to get your hands on
that.
Yeah,
and if
good.
You're fans of IPAs, some people don't like flavored IPAs, but this one is done perfectly. It's perfect amount. It's not too flavory to the point of where it kind of ruins. It's still got the good bite of an IPA, but so yeah, This one's a good one.
Yeah, one of the best fruity IPAs I've ever had. And when I say fruity, I don't mean to say that it is fruity, because like Brian said, it's not overpowering, but it's just got just enough hint of it to make it really good.
Yeah, Dogfish Head makes some good stuff. Mm-hmm. They have some good stuff, but so sorry, to jump ahead, but yeah, but in summary, Tim nailed it though. This is a movie that I wish I knew about it before this. I mean, some level I do, some level I don't, because it was too great to not do on this podcast.
I really wish I knew about this in college.
But right, yeah. Like, I'm thinking all those missed opportunities of the times you watch these type of movies in college, and you're all with your buddies drinking beer and stuff. And at this one, there could not be a better one to do that with. And it's like,
it's freaking hysterical, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and as you know now, we mentioned Tim and I will be owning this movie as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah,
because there is I think there's it's one of those like special editions, right? Is it Scream Factory?
So yeah, it is a collector's series, and it's by Vestron, who also puts out some really good ones. Now theirs tend to be a little pricey, but I'm willing to pay it for this movie.
Oh yeah,
just because just to own it, just to show somebody that's never seen it before, would totally be worth it. And it has an audio commentary by Jackie Kong, which I have got to hear.
Oh, you know what? We should find out if at Holly. I know we're gonna be exhausted, but at maybe at Hollywood Nights, I know the cabin has a TV in it, but I do have a portable Blu-ray player. I could possibly see if I can sneak in this. It might be hard, but maybe I could get that in my suitcase, and if I just bring that and the plug,
oh my god, yes,
and a wire, that might be worth it to see that. Because can you imagine everyone's face watching that thing? Especially after being exhausting on the coasters all day.
we'll be so stir crazy. It'll be hilarious. Yeah. I just pulled up the special features. So it has an audio commentary with Jackie Kong, an audio commentary with executive producer Lawrence Kasanoff, an isolated score with select audio commentary with composer Don Preston, an interview with Jackie Kong, an interview with Carl Crew, an interview with director of photography, cult movie recipes, an interview with the writer.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff.
An interview with special makeup effect creator, archival interviews. Yeah, I mean that seems like a pretty packed disc for this caliber of movie. So I think it'd be worth the $28.
Oh, and Carl Crew actually was the one that played George Tutman.
Yeah.
Oh, so actually he'd be probably funny to hear his thing. And I looked at Sheba was played by someone named Lynette LaFrance. What a name.
Wow. Yeah, maybe that's where the accent comes from.
Yeah.
Wherever she's from.
Yeah. The funniest thing is Little George, I'm looking. I guess George is a young kid, that means, was Sir Lamont Rodeheaver. So this guy was a sir?
Well, I know one of the kids was played by Jackie Kong's daughter. I did see that trivia.
Oh, that's interesting.
One of the boys was played by her daughter, which is odd. But anyway.
Yeah, okay. And it's funny that the person that actually played Cheetar was Tanya Papanikolaou.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
like in a world of absurdity, those names just fit perfectly.
Yeah, and I think one of the bands, I don't know which one though. Oh no, wait. Well, this makes no sense. It says the Love Johnsons. I thought it was a band, but it says the Love Johnsons is an actor known for Blood Diner.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's one of the bands or an actual person who calls himself the Love Johnsons. But
well, I'll let you take the trivia question from last week.
Oh, yes. So our trivia question last week was, obviously we did It Follows. And the question was, what was Micah Monroe's planned profession before she became an actress? And she was actually on her way to being a professional kite surfer. So, and I guess it was a family history. I think they said her dad was one. So it was kind of in the family. And what I meant, I had said you could kind of see that. She definitely has that surfer girl kind of look. You know, the blonde hair, especially if she was in a bathing suit, that doesn't, that definitely helps the imagery. But so she is actually, so she was trying to be a professional kite surfer. And I think she still does it on occasion, just for the amateur circuits and stuff, of course. But so that's the answer to that one. And I guess I'll, Tim, if you want to take this week's, which was, thank God you changed because the other one would have given it away.
Yeah, I found a pretty good one for this week. So there was one person who worked on this film who was actually nominated for an Academy Award in 2013.
I'm
not
sorry,
for this
it's
movie.
Just funny because someone came out of it unscathed. It's just
yeah.
It's
so this movie does have Oscar credibility, kind of.
Yeah. I'm sure it was not in his or her Oscar reel though when they showed it up on the.
Yeah, probably not. So, name the person who was nominated for an Oscar in 2013 who worked on this movie and what they were nominated for.
Wow,
we'll give you the answer to that one next week.
Yeah, well, at least you figure anyone that worked on this film deserves something good in their life. So I'm glad someone we know.
But you know what? I'm going to go on record. Some films are so bad they're good. I don't think this is a bad film.
No,
I think it's hysterical. I think if you get it, you get it. If you get that kind of humor, you get it. If you don't get that kind of humor, you're probably going to think it's god awful.
Yeah, no, and the reason I said that was more so as like what most culturally people would look upon this film as. But as you could tell, Tim and I absolutely loved every second of this thing because it was just.
No, I don't love it in an ironic way. I actually genuinely.
Oh no, I do too. Because it was so much fun to watch this thing, and I mean, I took 10 pages of notes on this thing. because I didn't want to miss any of the humor. And I know it sounded like we were literally making fun of it, but that's the charm of this movie, is that it was so out there, and yet it was so much fun to watch that it was, it definitely deserves a special place in the annals of horror.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up because we're at a long episode again.
Yeah. We did have a technical difficulty, which we'll edit out so you won't hear it. But yeah. So it's probably a little
anyway,
less
so I'll briefly run through where you can find us. Twitter @Civil Gore Pod, Facebook, facebook.com/Civil Gore Podcast, Gmail, civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. Please leave us a review on iTunes if you would be so kind.
Yes, we need them.
And thank you for all your downloads and continuing to tune in every week. We have a lot of fun doing this show, and any feedback is greatly appreciated. Even criticisms.
Yeah, like even if you're sick of my voice, please.
Yeah, love it, hate it. send us your feedback so we know you're out there.
Yeah, and keep an eye on. Oh, well, actually, by the time you listen to this, you'll have about a day's warning. But keep your eye over the weekend because I will be attending the Chiller Con in New Jersey with my brother Seth. We're going to be hopefully getting a bunch of pictures, and who knows what we'll get out of this. Maybe we'll get an interview out of one of the wonderful horror people that'll be there. And but yeah, so I'll be definitely probably posting a lot of stuff on Instagram and tweeting about the con there, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so I guess probably next week we'll also have our episode will probably be kind of a recap of your convention,
right?
Kind of like we did with ours,
right? We'll try and definitely put in maybe we'll watch some movie though for it also, depending on how long I go about it. Just because we notice you definitely like when we talk about a movie in the episode.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a shorter one or something like that. But
maybe Tim will give his review of the Vajay Bowl movie. What was it? Innsmouth.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.
Hey, baby. Right before I stick my big sausage in you, what do they call you? They call me Sheetar.